Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. We're back at it. Week 2 of the NFL kicks off tonight. Can you believe it? Thursday night football, we'll get to that coming up. Won't be long before the Jazz get going. The first sign of the Utah Mammoth emerging from summer hibernation. I don't think the metaphor really works. But anyway, the Mammoth are getting going. They got the rookie camp coming up. Bill Armstrong meeting with the media yesterday. Here he is.
Bill, rookie camp starting up. There's a rookie showcase. What's the goals and what you want to see out of this group over the next 5-6 days?
Well, there's some impressive prospects there, and it's not too often that you have that many first-rounders actually going to a rookie camp. So it's exciting to kind of see the Daniel Boots of the world and the Simashevs and the Kobodoens and the T.J. Ginlas coming in here, fighting for a job. It's exciting times, and I think you can sense that when you're in the meetings with those guys. Like they're hungry to come out here and make an impression, and this is the first step. A lot of those kids come in the summer and say, "Hey, I want to make the team," and well, this is the first step to do that.
It seems like Simashev has been spending a lot of time with Sergachev. Hikes, karaoke, that type of stuff. What's that relationship meant from your side of things to have someone there to transition him to this type of hockey? It's
a good question because, sometimes when you come over here, it's not only playing at the National Hockey League level, it's getting accustomed to the cultures and everything about it. And Sergei's great for him. He's a great mentor. He's a great role model for him. And so you couldn't ask any better to help him transition from playing over there and now coming over here to play in the National Hockey League. He's a big piece of and help him transition hopefully a little easier.
T.J. Ginla is now fully healthy. What do you expect to see from him, and where do you want to see him improve his game?
Well, it's been a while since we've had an opportunity to kind of view him. We're really excited. We've watched him bomb around here for the last couple of days, and he's got a little bit of fire in his belly, and he's eager to prove. So I'm looking forward to seeing him, show us what he can do scoring-wise and playing-wise, and see if he can come in and make our team.
You mentioned some of those rookies. How many realistically could make that team?
Well, I'm not taking dreams away from anybody, so I'm not a dream stealer. So I don't know to answer exactly how many, but I think that's the goodness of our club right now and where we are as an organization. We've got 6 first-rounders that sit outside our team, and they're all capable of making the team. So it's going to be exciting times for us. And, you like to see as a GM, you like to see that compete out of the young guys coming into camp. And the young legs, the excitement, they still believe that they're Santa Claus and that there's and that's the greatness of what they do.
How healthy is competition for this group, especially where you're at in the growth period for this organization?
I believe it's a huge part of our organization right now, just because of the simple fact that there's so many unknowns, and there's a lot of talented kids that sit outside our team that they want a seat at the table.
What do you want to see from Maverick Lamoureux during this training camp? What will it take for him to push for a spot, I guess?
Yeah, he came up obviously with us at the time, desperate times called for desperate measures, and you would have liked to seen him play some more games underneath his belt before he came over. He did a phenomenal job when he played for us in the National Hockey League. We'd like to see more of that. He's big, he's long, he's got to bring a physical presence. He's got to be able to move the puck clean up here, and just really be a great shutdown D for us. If he can do that, all the other things are a bonus, but he's got a chance.
Does it feel like go time finally?
It's like just waiting for it. It's just, we're excited about this year. We're excited about seeing our kids and our team. So it's just, next step, and it's coming. So we're, just watching the guys on the ice. There's some talented hockey players. This is, like I've said, this is the highest compete we've ever seen coming to camp with our guys, and this is going to be exciting training camp.
How do you feel about Duda's progression since, entering the system?
He's good. There's not many people that go to the American League, have that type of year, put on 10 pounds of muscle. He's probably one of the hardest working kids in our organization. He got into a bad situation where he wasn't allowed to play in the North American hockey. We got that resolved, and he came back last year, had a heck of a year in the American League. He's going to push too.
Caleb obviously got surgery, but he's on the list being here this week. How's he doing, and what does it mean to just have him here, even if he can't compete for a spot right now?
Yeah, he's a big part of it. He's a cultural guy. He's somebody that's a leader. internally, and he's going to help come to the rookie camp, get a viewing. I think just being around the NHL guys at camp also will help him, just learning the good habits, how hard it is at the National Hockey League, and how you have to compete every single day on your good days and on your bad days.
What's his mindset been after having to be sidelined for a little while?
Well, I think he went and worked out the day after he had surgery. He's a pretty hungry kid, so he's got that determination look in his eye of disappointment. But don't worry, I'm coming.
We saw last year the lack of depth on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Has that been improved this year?
Yeah, it has. We've added a ton of depth, and I think just with Simashev coming in, Duda pushing, Lamoureux pushing, and then Nick DeSimone coming back into the mix along with the 6D we already have, there's some really good depth there. I don't believe you can ever have enough good D, and the way the game's played at the speed, there's a lot of injuries. You need really 7 good D. So I believe that there'll be some young kids that push for position, and I like our depth, not only there but also up front.
For these Europeans coming in, especially the Russians, is there some type of a training program for English? Like, is there some type of way that they learn English, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, it's called Instagram. That's the great thing about the world as we know it today, is that when they are on their phones, a lot of the stuff that they are viewing is in English. So that's the great news, is they learn English a lot easier and a lot earlier.
What's it like having rookie camp here, Mammoth on the ice, on the wall, and having a home?
Well, as I told the rookies as I dressed him, I said, yeah, timing's everything. You came in at the right time to kind of experience this, and this is a great thing for our organization. To be an elite organization, you have to have an elite training center, and we do, and we are very fortunate, and there's not a day that goes by that we're not grateful for it. It's truly a special place, and Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith and the SCG, they crushed this. 13 months ago, we were standing here, and Ryan was explaining his vision, and we were all looking around going, really? And here it is. It got it done. So this is big for an organization and just the NHL players. Our players get spoiled. I do believe this is the best in the National Hockey League, and it's a great opportunity for us to kind of blossom in this environment.
You say you don't want to bust dreams of guys, but do you have a certain, set in your mind of who you think will be going to training camp versus guys who may earn that opportunity?
Yeah, you really got to come into rookie camp and earn it, right? Like that's the idea, is going to rookie camp. If you're going to make our team and come to compete, you should be one of the best players there.
There's the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking football. Riley Jensen, stay with us right here on The Zone. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Riley Jensen, college football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
Hey, it is a good morning. Good to talk to you guys on a Monday. Let's go.
All right. Everyone's trying to figure out now. Everyone knows. Okay, well, I should say everyone knows. Everyone should know at this point the Utes and Cougars are good. But I get, because of lack of competition, fans are like, I don't know if they're very good. I don't know if they're great. I don't know if this is the best team I've ever seen. Okay, you can't know that kind of top shelf unless you have Riley Jensen's finely trained football mind. How many exclamation points? They deserve exclamation points for the way they've started. How many do you want to put out there?
I think there's a couple of exclamation points on Utah's start to the season. I think there's an exclamation point on BYU's start to the season. And I think Utah State is going to be better than most people thought they were going to be. With the exception of their second quarter yesterday or Saturday, they played pretty well. I think Broncos got them in the right mindset to play good football this year.
I want to go with my guy, Grizzly Bear Bachmeier. Obviously a freshman, second game. Everything is brand new. Going forward, this will be the first road game. After that, it'll be the first conference game. First road game, first game before a packed house, blah, blah, blah. How much can you force feed them as opposed to let it develop naturally?
Oh, I think you force feed him as much as he can so you can find out what he can do. I think that Aaron put a lot on him in the Stanford game, and I think the result in this game was exactly what I thought you were going to see from a freshman quarterback. And I'll give you an example of where Bear shows some flashes of really good stuff, and then also shows you that he's a freshman. So I can't remember the exact score. I think the score is 14-0 at halftime. They get the ball for a 2-minute drill. They have a chance to drive down the field. There's a couple of good passes, a couple of good gains, and then Bear makes a pass that is a veteran throw to me, meaning they do a dig route at about 15 yards. And I've told you guys before on this show particularly that you can tell when a freshman is starting to figure out offense when he can throw the ball over the middle of the field because he understands the moving parts. And he really understood the moving parts. There was a guy who cleared out a safety. A dig route comes in behind that clear route. He waits for the linebacker to clear a little bit, and he throws this beautiful dig route down the middle of the field to really get them into field goal position. And it was a beautiful throw, and I'm like, okay, Bear, you're starting to read the defense. You're starting to see things clearly. And then he proceeds to take a sack that gets them out of field goal position, and it shows you that he's a freshman, right? And so they don't get a field goal. They don't get any points out of the 2-minute drill. They have to punt the ball at the end of the half, they're up 14-0 instead of at least 17-0. And so these are the type of things that happen with freshman quarterbacks. You know, it's like you have so much to teach them. You have so much to tell them. Take care of the football inside the red zone. Don't take a sack when you're inside of field goal range, all these different things. And you just have to learn in real time. You have to cut your teeth as a freshman, and that's some lessons that he's going to learn. But there's going to be more freshman mistakes like that there's just so much to teach him. And there's so much good that he's doing, and there's so much that he needs to continue to learn. And he would tell you that. I think Aaron Roderick would tell you like that. The sack was a little bit hurtful. It didn't hurt him against Stanford, but it could hurt him in a Big 12 game. And so you gotta learn the lessons as you're going. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. There was a couple of things that he got away with in the game. There was a wheel route down the sideline that got him in real close, and then they scored a touchdown that I actually thought was a bad read with a really good throw. And so, but the other thing that I would say about BYU is defensively, they are lights out. I mean Kelly, the transfer from Weber State, he's now in his second year at BYU. He is a man-child. Tanavasa had a big sack. I mean, these guys defensively, they pose a lot of problems. Just like Coach Reich was saying, I mean, they present BYU defenses. The BYU defense presents pro defenses. And they are very confusing, and they are difficult to deal with. Those guys are very fundamentally sound, and they're going to cause problems in the Big 12 for sure.
BYU, it appears, can run the ball exactly as A-Rod. He stepped up to the microphone and was very confident and brought it up and really sold it. Now L.J. Martin has put up huge numbers 2 weeks in a row. But it didn't translate so much in the red zone. That was a lot of field goals. Some of the red zone problems were obvious. Maybe some of them weren't so obvious. So in order of importance, whether they're obvious or not, what do you think went wrong on that they kicked so many field goals?
That's a really good question. I'd have to look at it a little bit closer in film. Here's what I would say. L.J. Martin is the type of running back that as you continue to run during the game, he's going to continue to wear you down. And he makes good runs. He usually makes the first guy miss. There were some good holes open up. Inside of the red zone, I actually thought they were a little bit more cute with the Bear Bachmeier runs than I would have preferred. With L.J. running the way he has, you don't have to put Bear Bachmeier into the runs. Now, my guess is that A-Rod's thinking that everybody knows it's going to LJ, and so maybe a couple of wrinkles off of that with some Bear Bachmeier runs and some different things there were the reason why he did that. I don't think it was bad play calls. I just think it was bad execution. But sometimes, and I learned this a long time ago from a quote. from Nick Saban at Alabama, where he said, you get to important parts of the game, and he goes, during the game, you call plays. You call things, you take what the defense gives you. He goes, when you get to a difficult part of the game, you call players. You don't call plays. And I think if you just continue to call LJ's number down there, it's going to be really difficult for people to stop. So I don't know that it's huge adjustments. I mean, he's going to be upset that some of the different play calls with Bear and getting a little cute weren't executed correctly, and they do need to continue to work on that. But when you get to a point in the game, in the red zone or when it gets tight, you call plays, not players. Or call players, not plays. Sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. Utah's offense, how much is it legit or maybe a little bit of a false sense of security here since the competition has been extremely weak?
So the more I watch it, the more I'm wondering. I mean, look, the offense is off the charts. They haven't played anyone great. UCLA did not look great. I'm a little bit worried about Dampier's natural passing ability, and I can't put a finger on it yet. I can't. There's a couple of double pumps that make me nervous.
For me, it's the long ball.
What's that?
It's the long pass. I have concern about them being able to hit the big play through the air.
I mean, he's done a couple of things where he rolls out to the right and he throws a nice little intermediate pass. But you might be right. It might be the long pass. It's also a couple of times when he's in the pocket on a 3rd down and 6 where I see him thinking that it's going to be open, and he goes to throw it, then he's like, ooh, I don't know, and they kind of double pumps, and then he ends up throwing it to the same guy, and they're getting away with it right now, but that could hurt them later. And so I need to continue to see Dampier get a little bit more comfortable in the passing game. I know Coach Whittingham calls it the throw game, but I still call it the passing game. And just be a little bit more comfortable. And the one thing that I do like is that I do feel like he's learning. I do feel like this is a kid that wants to be a really, really good quarterback. I think he has all the moxie and he has all the leadership that he needs. And so when you look at all of the picture of him, it's still not quite natural in the passing game, but I feel like he has hope. And I feel like he's going to be okay. But he's got to figure it out before they get to the Big 12.
To me, the part of the passing game that's scary is 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. And I mean, your conversion rates probably aren't good with that down and distance anyway. And it's such a small sample size, plus the quality of competition. I just don't see how we can know that. And the deep balls, he threw 3 against UCLA that were underthrown. Right. Now, he completed 1 and 1 drew a penalty, so the results were pretty good. But when you have somebody behind everybody, you want to hit them in stride so they can run for the touchdown. You can't be underthrowing it and then they get tackled and now their defense has a chance to make a play instead of just giving up the touchdown.
Yeah, and I'm probably a little bit less critical of the long ball with quarterbacks because the truth of the matter is in a real, and I hate to say a real football game because any football game, it's just nice to get a win. UCLA was a nice win, okay? But when I was looking at the stats of my quarterbacks, when I had a chance to be a coordinator, and when I was looking at the deep ball statistics, I was ecstatic if we were 2 for 4 on a long ball because the passing, typically when you're throwing a deeper ball, you're talking about, you're talking about more than 20 yards on the pass. And defensive coordinators love it when you're throwing the ball that long because the ball's in the air longer. But if you're 2 for 4 on long balls and you hit one of them for like a long touchdown, you're ecstatic as an offense coordinator because you know that those are not always open and you know that the completion percentage is lower. So what you do want, though, is you do want them to hit them in stride, like you talked about, DJ, and you do want to give them a chance where It's either he catches the ball or no one catches the ball. So that's where there's a difference in what we're talking about as far as the deep ball goes. But to be honest with you, you can't expect, the best quarterback in the country is going to be 4 for 4 on a deep ball. But after that, you're looking at 2 for 4. You're looking at, man, even if you land 1 for 4, but you get a touchdown out of it, everybody thinks you're just dialing up great plays. But those plays they're not high percentage plays. As much as you try and draw defenses up and as much as you try and draw it up, they're just not as high a percentage as people think. It's just that they're explosive in nature, and so when you hit them, the fans are going crazy, you're going crazy, you're pumped because you got a free 7 points out of the deal.
I'm curious, Riley, in this era with social media and with people being hypercritical, and you work in the whole mental health, mental performance coach, and it's natural to be working with people on their confidence, right? But do you have to work with people who are getting really bad negative feedback on social media where we're talking it's beyond performance? This is about being able to enjoy your life and being mentally healthy and not having people crush you. Do you have to deal with that a lot? And if so, how do you do it?
So it's absolutely a huge epidemic right now. And I'll come strong on this one. Most of the people that are sneaking into people's DMs, that are finding people's phone numbers, that are texting, major players' parents because they're upset about a win or a loss are degenerate gamblers. They're mad about losing money. But it's out of control right now. I've never seen it at this kind of a fever pitch. It makes me really angry because you're talking about, 18 to 22-year-olds that their brains are still developing, and it's very, very difficult. It makes me very angry. Now, there are a lot of things that we do to help athletes deal with this. One is I suggest to every athlete just to get off of social media and not even be around it during the football season. If they want to deal with it after the season, it's much easier when everybody's emotions are down a little bit. But I talk to them about, just getting off of social media. Another thing that is a big thing, and this is a little bit of a different approach, but I really talk to them about the fact that if you wouldn't call this person to ask them for advice, why in the world would you take their criticism, right? So that's another tool that we use. It's just like, look, there's always going to be people that take shots. But if you don't know them and you wouldn't call them for advice, why in the world would you take criticism? The only people that you should take criticism from is perhaps someone that you really trust that you would also call to ask advice from. So that's another thing. We can also switch it. I've already been coaching my own 11-year-old son. And by the way, PK, just a funny side note, I asked my son, did you learn cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 from me? Or did you learn it from Madden? And he said, oh, totally from Madden. He didn't even hesitate. I was so beat up. Anyway, coming back to the point, right? The thing that we talk about, and I've been talking about with my son, they don't boo and they don't criticize players that suck. They don't.
Barry
they
Bonds.
Don't care about,
yep.
They don't care about the guy that doesn't do anything. And so in some ways you have to turn some of that negativity as a player and some of that negativity as a competitor into they're cheering for you. They're literally telling you that you're legitimate and that you play well. And so that's another tool that we do to kind of reverse the psychology and the difficulty of it. The part that I feel bad for the parents of some of these players that are getting texts that say your kid should have never been born. You should have done this or that to make sure that didn't happen. You're talking about like really, really vile things that people say. And it is just disgusting behavior, but it's a very real thing that we have to deal with. Now, I am a mental performance coach. I am not a clinical psychologist. If it's bad enough, and I'm trained to recognize, the anxiety and perhaps the depression that's taking place, I will refer him to a clinical psychologist. And at some points, there's no shame in being medicated to be able to slough off some of these things and be a duck sort of sorts and let things roll off your back. But there are a lot of tools that we're using. There's tools that I use as a mental performance coach that are even more clinical than some of these things. But I just wanted to give you some bite-sized pieces of things that we talk about when it comes to people criticizing these athletes, because none of these athletes are trying to play bad. There's not one. Yeah. They're so much more invested in this than you that it's ridiculous that you would even criticize.
Riley, we appreciate it as always. You're the man. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
There's Riley Jensen. Join JJ and Alex for the Utah RV Super Show today from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Mountain America Expo Center. Unplug from distractions and plug into family at the Utah RV Super Show. Coming up next, we are talking football with Alex Taylor. Covers the Wyoming Cowboys. Utah's going to Wyoming this week. And Alex has a very high opinion of the Utes. He's got them 12th on his AP ballot. Why? He says there's one specific reason, and he'll tell you what it is next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Alex Taylor, Wyoming Cowboy beat writer for the Laramie Boomerang and the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. Also an AP Top 25 voter. Alex, good morning.
Gentlemen, how's it going? Good to be on.
Alex, did you flinch when you found out some voter moved Florida up 2 spots after a loss to South Florida, and you think, man, I got to make sure I check every ballot every week against what I did last week, not against what the poll was last week?
Yeah, I was. It took me like a couple hours to kind of process that video. I feel like because I've been on the other side of that. I've made a little mistake before, and then I had to hear from it. Or hear about it from Miami fans last year and that's a long week when you make a mistake like that. But I never went out and made a video and said that the vote or the ballot doesn't actually matter. So I think that was I tweeted something about it, but like I think if you would have just got ahead of it and said I read the box score wrong. Yeah, I made a mistake, and I'll fix it next week. I think we wouldn't be here talking about it.
I agree 100%, my man. That's exactly – it's like if you get caught doing something, they say the lie is worse than the actual offense.
Yeah.
And if you just say that – because I've done it. I don't do it anymore, but I was telling a story earlier. When Michigan one year, many years ago, was on fire, I forgot to put them in. I was on a road trip, and I was hustling to the airport, and I screwed it up. But didn't get near the attention. It's funny. We've talked about this. We keep hearing that these poll, particularly the AP poll, doesn't mean anything, right? That's the big storyline. But yet it still gets so much attention, which sort of is incongruent. If something doesn't mean it's literally meaningless to some folk, why does it matter so much? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Obviously, she kind of said in the video, like, yeah, there's a ton of people that vote in this thing. I mean, there's 62 people, so I don't know if I would classify that as a ton. And I guess what's frustrating from my vantage point about the whole thing is like it's really. I'm sure you went through this too. Like the turnaround on this thing is so quick, and you're at a pretty big disadvantage on the West Coast of. Just the turnaround, like that thing is due, I think, at I want to say 9 or 10 a.m.
Right.
Mountain time on Sunday. So, I'd say 80-90% of the time for, say, I'm covering a Wyoming road game in Boise, Idaho, I'm turning that thing in at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning because I don't want to wait. I don't want to run the risk of waiting and something going wrong. So I'll do it after the game that I cover. So you're talking 4 or 5 in the morning. And that's not I don't know what her process is that she was talking about. Obviously it's not a very good one, but I try not to overlook anything. And I think you also have to represent the group of 5 a little bit. And especially these West Coast teams, it's very, very skewed to the East Coast, obviously, with just the majority of the teams being out there.
Well, Alex, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was to talk about the game, and another was to have you talk about the Utes. You've got a lot of respect for this team. You got them up Number 12 in the country. There's like a half dozen people have them 11 or 12. You're one of them. Why are you so high on the Utes?
Well, I'm going to be honest, Devin Dampier, I've had the opportunity to watch him play twice now, obviously as New Mexico's starting quarterback. My first experience watching him play was he actually came in as a backup, the guy in front of him in 2023. I don't know if I ever got a clear answer if he got benched or was hurt or both, but Devin Dampier ended up coming into this game against Wyoming, I think in third, fourth quarter. It was in the second half, and he almost willed them to a kind of a comeback win. During Wyoming's 9-win season 2 years ago. He had I want to say like 71 rushing yards on 6 carries, and then obviously that was a little prelude to what he was able to do with the Lobos last year. And I would encourage any Utah fans listening to this or anybody that covers the Utes to go back and watch the highlights of that New Mexico-Wyoming game last year. I want to say it was 49-45 in Albuquerque.
Yep.
Devin Dampier had 207 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, and then threw for 164 more yards and another touchdown. What kind of sank him, he threw a pick six right at the end. They kind of had an opportunity to, I think they racked up like 500 or 400 something rushing yards against Wyoming, and they decided to throw it late in the fourth quarter, and he threw a pick six, and then there was a strip sack on the next play. But I wanted to say, just from what I've seen, I know we're kind of talking about this AP ballot, especially this early in the season. I think it's good to get a difference in opinions this early in the season, just because one team's 2-0 is, I would rather rank a 2-0 team who maybe hasn't played that hard of a schedule over, like Notre Dame moved up a couple of spots, I think, after a bye week. So, like, I think as a voter, I think you're allowed to maybe take some educational swings. Obviously, there's going to be some misses in there. We saw what happened with Florida State last year, and maybe Alabama too this year. We'll see. But I think last year was maybe a down year for Utah. I think obviously you guys all know that, but I like the direction that they're going with Devin Dampier and what he's able to bring to that offense behind obviously a much better offensive line than he had in New Mexico.
Yeah, I agree with all that. There's a lot of logic into that. I saw Dampier play several times last year, and he was electric. And so far, he's doing what he needs to do here. We'll see as the season progresses when they get into league play. But right now, everything is looking great. Now, as far as Wyoming, they got a couple of nice games themselves. And last week, Northern Iowa, the home opener, and Caden Anderson goes down, takes a big hit. I think it was a lost fumble on that one, and he came out. Backup came in. So where do we stand with him as far as the quarterback situation?
Yeah, that was I was talking to offensive coordinator Jay Johnson. That was maybe a little bit of a combination of a miscommunication with the running back. Then also, it was almost like he got blindsided, but it was from the right side. Like he just didn't see it was a corner blitz, and he got absolutely smoked. Was on the ground for maybe 2-3 minutes before finally getting helped off, and he actually took a trip to the hospital before the game even ended to get some additional testing on his, I would assume, like his rib cage, upper body area. But Jay Salvell said Monday that he expects Caden Anderson to start and be available, which is obviously big for just Wyoming's offense right now. I mean, I would say that Jay Salvell is a transparent enough coach where I don't think this is like a Troy Calhoun, maybe say the guy's playing and then go throw out another quarterback as soon as the game starts. But I would assume that would mean that without any setbacks that Caden Anderson will be Wyoming's quarterback, and that's really big just in terms of his leadership. I mean, I know obviously he's only a sophomore, but he's kind of he's the engine of this offense. Obviously, what he kind of is what makes this offense work, and I think we've kind of seen that early. Utah and Wyoming have kind of had similar starts to the season, just in terms of just Akron's obviously not a very good comparison point for where a Division I football program might be, and then obviously an FCS game. But I think this is kind of the first real true test of this offense, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if Salvell or Jay Johnson or anybody would ever call it this, but it's more of a – they've kind of switched to more of a spread offense since Craig Bull retired, which is – obviously it's been a while that we've seen a balanced, like a 50-50 offense in Laramie, Wyoming.
Aiden's top receiver is Chris Durr Jr. It doesn't look like he played last year, but he didn't do that much. And now he's catching a third of the passes. He's got more than half of the yards. He's got 2 of the 3 touchdowns. Is it largely a one-man receiving crew, or are the Utes going to double him and dare everyone else to make a play?
Yeah, he should have played more last year. Salvo has said that. They made a change at wide receiver coach, partly because of that, I would like, or one of the reasons, obviously. But yeah, Chris Durr, he's not a big guy. He comes out of the slot. He's probably 5'10", maybe 170 pounds. So I'm curious. I've talked to Caden Anderson about it before, so I'd say him and tight end John Michael Gildenborg are 1-2 just in terms of favorite targets. And you kind of saw that against Northern Iowa, where it's kind of a matchup nightmare just in terms of you kind of got to pick one, and with them both operating out of the middle of the field, you would think that eventually that would open up something outside. So I'd say right now, Jalen Sargent, he was an All-Mountain West honorable mention. He plays out wide. He hasn't done much this year. He kind of came on late last year. He had a really big game in that New Mexico game I was talking about earlier. So I'd say him and Arizona transfer Jackson Holman are probably the top 2 outside wide receivers. But, yeah, I would say Utah's defensive game plan is going to start with Chris Durr and John Michael Gillenborg in the slot and at tight end.
Tell us about the defense. They're top 10 in terms of fewest yards allowed per play. So I'm wondering, you think that obviously Utah's offense has been really cooking so far. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to kind of know where this Wyoming defense is. I mean, obviously, 2 games is 2 games, regardless of who you play. But, I mean, when you're talking about Akron, who's probably a bottom 5 FBS team, and then Northern Iowa, who's kind of a bottom Missouri Valley FCS team. So it's kind of hard to gauge maybe where this unit is at. But I've been impressed just in terms of how many guys have played. I think in that Akron game, Salvell said they played 22 defensive players over the course of the game, which was the most that they have since his time here in the last 5-6 years. So I think they had 2 returning starters both on the defensive line, Ben Florentine and Tice Westland. And I think the biggest guy that stood out to me, just newcomer-wise, is Braden Johnson, linebacker. He had a interception in the end zone that kind of kept that shutout against Akron. Ended up really swinging the momentum in that game. And he's just kind of he's a stud. I mean, he was at Oklahoma Baptist for the last 3 or 4 years, so he's just kind of one of those small-town kids that gets an opportunity with this new transfer portal era to come play at the Division I level as a senior. I was talking to him a couple weeks ago. He said he was growing up in Ringling, Oklahoma. He had like 27 teammates on his high school team, and it was 11-man Class 1A in Oklahoma. So just super small town kid that ends up coming to Laramie, Wyoming, and I think he's leading the team. I want to say it's like 14 tackles, that interception, pass deflection. So he's really stood out to me so far.
Well, it goes from Oklahoma, small town, to the big city of Laramie. How's he adjusting?
Well, he said, actually, it's funny because Jay Salvo kind of made a joke about it, but I mean that the Wyoming spring game was probably the biggest crowd he's played in front of in his entire life, and then I'm sure you saw maybe some highlights of that Akron game. I want to say Wyoming spring game was probably a higher attendance than the Akron game. So last week was really his true first experience of playing in front of 25,000 people on a Saturday afternoon.
Is Wyoming getting hit hard by the transfer portal? I mean, if anybody puts up any numbers here, whether it's a lot of tackles, a lot of yards, whatever, does everybody come? Do all the Power 4 schools come calling for him immediately?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I think it's kind of like any other school where, I mean, obviously you're going to lose guys. Like, there's going to be tampering. I mean, there's and I wrote about it plenty with this offseason, just these seniors. I mean, like John Michael Gillenborg's, he was on the John Mackey preseason watch list. Like, he could have went anywhere. And Salvell had a kind of a quote in the offseason, like John Michael Gillenborg is going up to Jay Salvell in the offseason. He's like, hey, like, whatever NIL money that you guys want to give me, like, just give it to another guy. I don't need it. Like, I want you to give it to somebody else. That way we can put together a good roster around me. And I think that comes down to maybe that player relationship with the coaching staff, and I think that kind of goes a long way. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's not every player is going to be like that. I mean, if when you were 18 or when I was 18 years old, and if I played football and somebody came up to me and said, hey, here's $200,000 to come play football here, like, yeah, I'd try to take that as a 19-year-old. Like, it's legal, and but you also kind of have to weigh the good and the pros and cons of that. And I think there's a couple examples, and this is with any school, especially at the group of five, of like, hey, we'll pay you X amount of money to come to whatever Power 4 school, but then I guess you got to kind of weigh, like, are you going to play, or are you just kind of getting paid to be a practice squad guy or a scout team guy just to add some depth into a better program? So I think there's definitely been some guys that put up decent numbers that went on to another level, but I'll sit here on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning and just kind of looking up their stats, and it's like their name's not even in the box score of the new team they're playing. So I don't know. It's kind of a pick your poison type of thing.
In Laramie, Wyoming, how are merchandising going as far as the sales of Buffalo Bills jerseys, in particular one player?
Yeah, it's pretty high, I would say. I think they're I'm sure you've seen recently in the news that, I mean, they're trying to really capitalize on the timing of this Josh Allen peak in the NFL thing. Just obviously with he's going to become the first player in University of Wyoming history to have his number retired later this season against Nevada in November. He's actually going to fly back for that game, which will be his first trip back to Laramie since his pro day. And I'm sure you saw they bought a Super Bowl commercial right after.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He won the MVP. So like I said, I think they're really trying to capitalize on his success right now, and it would be dumb not to. Like, a lot of fans get upset about how maybe he's not deserving of these accolades. I mean, he's getting inducted into Wyoming's Athletics Hall of Fame, and again, I'm not disagreeing with the sentiment that he's not the best player that's ever played at the University of Wyoming, and that's not what I don't think that's what this is about. It's the fact that he's the most well-known University of Wyoming football player in the world, and not only just as an alum, but just also like he's one of the most popular NFL players on the planet right now. So I think that's turned into kind of a marketing strategy to get people to Laramie, Wyoming, and to get people to tune into Wyoming football. And I think if you asked anybody currently in the program, coaches, players, staff, whatever, I mean, they don't mind it one bit.
See, when you need to get out in the winter, you just need to be sent to these small towns in Oklahoma, Firebaugh, California. You get these guys coming out of these small towns. There got to be stories. There got to be great stories. You got to track those down.
There's Braden Wilson, defensive end, Weber State. He was like a two-time All-Big Sky guy. I think that was one of the first transfers I talked to in the spring, and he was just a hilarious guy. I can't remember exactly. I remember him saying basically like he had. I think he was from Utah. I'll have to look that up, but he had basically three options coming out of high school. He could either go play rugby in college, play football in college, or go play rugby professionally. And he wanted to play rugby. Went back and forth about it, and then he ended up going to Weber State and was an all-conference defensive end for like 2 seasons, and then he ends up. He said this is the first time I've ever heard somebody say this. He said that when he got in the portal, his coach at Weber State was like, hey, is there any school that you want to go to that hasn't contacted you? And he said, well, yeah, I want to go to Wyoming. And so they obviously, his old coach set up a meeting with Wyoming's coaching staff, and he ended up here, I think, like a week or two later.
Good stories. We appreciate the time, Alex. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to the game this Saturday. Enjoy it.
Yeah, guys, appreciate the time.
All right.
Have fun this weekend. Appreciate it.
All right. Keep an eye on that ballot, too, Alex. We don't want you to have to explain anything. There it is. There's Alex Taylor, beat writer covering the Wyoming Cowboys in Laramie. A reminder to join Hans and Scotty G at Edge Power Sports in Draper today from noon to 3. Get ready for their Suzuki demo event on Friday and Saturday and come in for a test drive. Edge Power Sports, where adventure begins and the thrill never ends. What is trending? The headlines are next.